October 25th, 1983, 5:30 a.m. In the skies over the Eastern Caribbean, several hundred Army Rangers, like Sergeant Bruce McGraw, are packed into transport planes.
We couldn't even sit down with our equipment, and then all the other troops kind of piled in. It was one of the most packed aircraft I'd ever been in. So we sat on a trash can back to back for 8 hours on that flight.
The mission jumped directly into what is now enemy territory, Point Salinas International Airport. Ranger Steve Trujillo is a senior medic in one of those planes. He is shown in shadow because of his current job.
Rangers operate at night, okay? And we had been working at night for...
Hey, welcome to Ride Along Live for today. It's a special day. It's a Thanksgiving Day in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique today in remembrance of the Operation Urgent Fury. And today we have retired Army veteran Mark D. Mason, who is going to be joining us to talk about all that transpired, or as far as what he could speak to us about what transpired on this day, the 25th of October, 39 years ago. We also have Mr. Livingston Nelson, who I refer to as a historian. He's going to be chatting with us on the significance of today and trying to put all the pieces together. Now, there have been so many unanswered questions, so many missing parts, right, in the story of Maurice Bishop assassination and the revolution. Some even said that today should never be a holiday in Grenada. Well, we're going to put all of this together and, of course, get your feedback on the topic tonight. So go ahead, guys, and share up the thing. It's a very important conversation. It's a very important dialogue that we're going to have today. And we want everyone to be participating, calling in, sharing, and joining in the conversation here today. So, guys, as you come in, go ahead and share up the thing right now. Share it up, share it up, share it up. Let me know, make sure you guys are hearing me fine. Let me make sure you guys are hearing me fine. In the meantime, let me see what's on my before we start. Let me see what's on my timeline. Scrolling through on my timeline. Let me see what's happening. What's trending on my timeline? Let me refresh my timeline, guys, because there's a lot happening today. Hey, how you doing? Guys, for some reason, I'm not seeing no chat. Probably my chat is not working. I'll go back and check in my phone. So, what's happening? Heather. Okay, Heather cooking up some lambi waters and things, Jed. You kept yourself, Heather. Let me see if I have any interesting things on my timeline today, guys. This is going to be a short timeline, by the way, because I really want to take as much time as possible to chat with Mark D. Mason and, of course, Mr. Livingston Nelson. Let's see. Timeline taking a while to load. We'll fix that shortly. I don't know why I'm not seeing no one's comments. Let me check. Probably have a problem with my comment. So I could pull it up on my phone. But I want to big up the people and see who's sharing. I want to see who's sharing. All right. I think I got it now. I think I got it now. Yeah. Oh, you guys want to know why I'm dressed like that? It's Operation Urgent Fury Day. Yeah. All right. There we go. Okay, Steve, how you doing? Big up yourself. Glenda, big up yourself. Thank you for sharing. Hillary, good night to you. Thank you so much. Who else sharing? Who else sharing? Philippa Lambert, thank you so much. Philippa, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing, Philippa. We appreciate you. Who else sharing? Hey, how you doing? Lydia. Well, Lydia, did I say Lydia? Shirley, thank you so much. Thank you, and thank you, guys. Again, today is a holiday in Grenada. It's the Thanksgiving Day in Grenada, and help me welcome my guests, so I could bring him on right now. He is retired Army veteran. His name is Mr. Mark D. Mason, and he has a lot of information to share with us today. And also, I call him an historian, Mr. Livingston Nelson, who is going to help us piece all of this together here today. Mr. Livingston Nelson, welcome. Mr. Mark D. Mason, welcome to the ride. How are you guys doing today, sir?
Good night, Junior. And Mr. Mark, good to have met you. And to all the listeners on Ride Along, good night.
Absolutely. Thank you. And Mr. Mason, you are a true rider. You have been a rider for a long time. You have been watching the program, paying attention to it, and we'd like to welcome you on the platform for the very first time.
Thanks for having me, Junior. Nice to meet you, Mr. Nelson. Yeah, I am. I've been a rider for about 5 years now. I first started watching Junior's program when I was researching my book that I wrote, which is called The Palace Guards, Another Time, a Different Dimension. And it's about the revolution and the 1983 mission Operation Urgent Fury.
Yes. We're going to learn a lot more about your involvement in Operation Urgent Fury, which is a lot. I was very impressed by the information that you shared me earlier, and I think that the viewers would love to hear your recollection, because a part of that story has never been told, right? And I think with you being on here and sharing some of this information is going to be valid information for us. So let's start with Operation Urgent Fury, right? Nelson, I'll start with you, right? Today is a holiday in Grenada. It is in remembrance of the American invasion on the country in 1983. From your perspective, from where you sit, from your understanding of it, is it justified to have today as Thanksgiving Day in Grenada? Is it justified to have today as a holiday in Grenada?
Well, Junior, I think both days, that is a difficult. You start me off really difficult.
Yeah, we have a lot to talk about, by the way.
Now, both days are very, very important for different persons. Some, as far as they're concerned, that is the time they were seriously liberated from the hold of a regime that has imprisoned in a very short space of time over 3,000, of its people, had, imprisoned 3,000 of its people within 4 years, and that is significant. So again, what was facing us, it definitely was going to be death to a number of Grenadians. So I could understand the sentiment that people would attach to today's date, meaning the 25th. And to some people, they would accept it is a liberation. To some people, it's a rescue mission. But I think we cannot not accept the fact that it is a day when a lot of people felt an ease, a relief from the tension that was gripping the country and the impending bloodbath that was most likely to take place if our next foes didn't come into the island. In the long run, maybe if it didn't happen, Grenadians were going to liberate themselves from what was happening. But I understand this sentiment. But on the other hand, when you look at history, it is what we do for ourselves. It's not about what other people can do for us, but what we do for ourselves, or what we did to ourselves, and that could be good or bad. And so there is a tendency for me to want to say, if we have to choose, we should see it on the 19th. And it's not a celebration, but it's to look at ourselves within, and to chronicle what went wrong, and to try to prevent and educate our own people to say we shouldn't be going down that road. But I would say I would prefer, rather than having to choose, that we commemorate this season, the 19th to the 25th, that we use it as an intense time, because the revolution, on the balance scale, it has done some good. It has some very bad things that happen for a lot of persons. So I believe it is important to first start with us, what we did to ourselves, and take it from there. So if I have to choose, I would choose 19th.
Right. Now, to understand this date today, we have to first understand the revolution. We have to understand the assassination of Maurice Bishop on the 19th of October, all of which we spoke about in previous program. And you guys understand that there's so much history in it. We can't cover this whole history in one program. So previously we spoke about up to the assassination of the prime minister, and that would be tagged on this program if you guys want to go back and watch from that perspective, from what happened from the revolution, in the revolution up to the assassination. So today, again, let me just give you guys an update again, that we're starting from the 25th. We're starting about the significance of today, and that's where the history would be told from on this particular program. Now, as I said earlier, Mark D. Mason was Mark, introduce us. You were a part of a special brigade company that were sent into Grenada. Tell us, first of all, where were your mission before you were diverted into Grenada? What was the destination, and what was happening before your mission changed to that Eastern Caribbean island in the Caribbean?
Okay, my unit, the 118th Military Police Company Airborne, that unit was the unit that guarded the prisoners, helped the refugees, the displaced Grenadian citizens, and helped the guard and protect the American students at the True Blue Medical Campus. Now, I was stationed on Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and my unit was just, doing their regular thing as far as doing training and stuff like that. Now, the United States Marine Corps and the United States Navy, they were on the way to the Mediterranean in Beirut, and they got diverted from that mission. And on the 20th of October, they were told to position themselves in the area of Dominique in Puerto Rico and stand by there. Those were the guys that got diverted from another mission. So that's a different thing. Again, my unit, which we spent a lot of time, probably more time on the island nation of Grenada than any other unit, close to a year. And our main job initially was to guard the prisoners. That was our main job, and help the refugees, all the displaced people, all the displaced Grenadian citizens, and protect the American medical students. Not American, all the medical students. There was more than just American medical students at the True Blue campus. Protect them that were still there. That was our initial mission.
Mark, were you guys prepared for that mission? Because as history told us that incoming into Grenada, the American soldiers was very much unprepared. They didn't have a suitable map of the country, and you guys basically came in there not knowing the terrain, or not even knowing what you jumping into. What was the preparation level like from the soldiers from your brigade that jumped in?
Well, we didn't jump in. We air landed. We air landed in.
Okay.
We didn't get there until the morning of the 27th.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, we were definitely ready and prepared to perform our mission. And actually, what happened was the Caribbean Peacekeeping Force, they were initially in charge of guarding the prisoners, and they weren't capable of doing it. The Caribbean Peacekeeping Force, which was roughly, it was roughly about 400.
About 400, yeah.
400, and they were mainly constables, police officers, soldiers, and medical personnel. But they weren't capable of performing that mission. The prisoners were escaping. They couldn't control them. And so that's when they called my unit to come in and take care and guard the prisoners. And as far as the other organizations, I mean, it's all true about not having maps and stuff like that. But all those other units, they were well prepared. On the I'll break it down real quick. On the 25th of October, on the morning, the United States Marine Corps and the Navy, their mission was to secure Pearls Airport and control the northern section of the island. And again, the CPF, the Caribbean Peacekeeping Force, this is all on the 25th. And the Marines and Navy did a good job. They didn't run into too much trouble, not too much resistance. And again, the CPF, their initial mission was to guard the prisoners. That was their initial mission. And then the Army Rangers who jumped in on the 25th, the Army Rangers, Delta Force, and SEAL Team 6, they had multiple missions. The first mission, the Army Rangers were to seize and secure Point Salinas Airport, which they did, but they came under a lot of resistance. And the Navy SEALs, SEAL Team 6, and the Rangers mission also was to rescue the medical students at True Blue campus. SEAL Team 6 had two missions. They were to rescue Governor General Sir Paul Scoon from his residence because he was under house arrest. And they were also to secure Radio Free Grenada. And they ran into trouble on both those missions, but they eventually accomplished them. And the Delta Force Commandos had a mission to attack and secure Richmond Hill Prison. And because they thought there were still political prisoners up at the prison, and they ran into trouble also. But,
right. Nelson, not to stick a pin there, Mark. Nelson, are you surprised of the lack of preparation that is written in history that the American soldiers, when the American soldiers came? For one, we heard that they came in bright daylight. For two, they wasn't given clear terrain maps to see where to go or how the surface is actually on the ground. Are you aware, or what's your awareness of the historical fact that there was unprepared coming into Grenada, especially the first team that came in on the 25th?
I think my recollection of persons that actually engaged the American soldiers or they on the scene claimed that they were not prepared at all. The American soldiers were they seemed not. Well, I guess you would say the map. They didn't seem to have accurate maps. They were not sure of what to expect, etc. So I've been picking that up. But there's something that your guest mentioned there, and I believe we owe it to as much as we appreciated a lot that happened. We cannot continue living with the notion that the students or at any threat or being threatened or So when Mark said
hold on a second. Your audio kind of cracking up a bit. I don't know if you just want to just refresh a bit. Just go back out and come back in real quick. That might fix the audio problem. Again, guys, we're speaking here with Mark DeMason.
I heard me, Junior.
Yeah, I'm hearing you better now. Go ahead, Nelson. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So when Mark mentioned about the Americans,
No. The audio is bad. Hold on, Nelson. The audio is actually worse. Take off the headphone. Probably the headphone is the problem. Just take off the headphone and just speak straight to the phone. It's probably gonna be better that way. All right, you back? Okay.
Junior, are you hearing me better?
Yeah, I'm hearing you now. Go ahead.
Junior, I'm not hearing you. Are you hearing me?
You know? Yeah, I'm actually hearing you, but it's not great. All right.
Hey, Junior, are you hearing me?
Okay, Nelson, let me call you. Let me call you on the phone line. Let me call you on the phone line. The audio will be better on the phone line because I'm not hearing you good at all. All right. I'll call you on WhatsApp. I'll call you on WhatsApp right now. Okay. All right. Let me get Nelson on the WhatsApp. In the meantime, guys, I want you guys to take a look at this video. This is a phone call with the president at the time, Ronald Reagan, and Margaret Thatcher. Listen to this conversation. We'll come back with Livingston Nelson. Check this out.
Hello, Margaret.
If I were there, Margaret, I'd throw my hat in the door before I came in.
Oh, no, there's no need to do
Listen, we regret very much the embarrassment that's been caused you, and I'd just like to tell you what the story is from our end out here. I was awakened at 3 o'clock in the morning, supposedly on a golfing vacation down in Georgia, and was there with the Secretary of State, and so we met in pajamas out in the living room of our suite to because of this urgent plea from the Organization of East Caribbean States. We immediately got a group going back here in Washington, in which we shortly joined on planning and so forth. It was literally a matter of hours when your word came of your concerns. By the time I got it, the 0 hour had passed and our forces were on their way. And of course the time difference made that it was later in the day when you learned of it, and for us over here it was only 5:30 in the morning when they finally landed, and at last we could talk plainly.
Would not speak for very long, even on the secret telephone to you, because even that can be broken.
Yes.
So I'm very much aware of sensitivity.
Well,
But the action's underway now, and we just hope that it will be successful.
well, we are sure it is. It's going beautifully.
Well, let's hope it's soon over, Ron, and that you manage to get a democracy restored.
We want to put them kind of out ahead in helping in the restoration of a government, so there'll be no taint of big old Uncle Sam trying to impose a government on them.
Well, there's a lot of work to do yet, Ron, still, isn't there?
Oh, yes. Yeah, and
it'll be very tricky.
we think that the military part of it is going to end very shortly. But as I say, I'm sorry for any embarrassment we caused you, but please understand it was just our fear of our own weakness over here with regard to secrecy.
It's very kind of you to have rung, Ron.
Well, my pleasure.
Appreciate it. How is Nancy?
Just fine.
Good. Give her my love.
That was a conversation with the Prime Minister of England at the time and Ronald Reagan. We will talk more about the significance of this conversation, but let's come back to Livingston Nelson, who is on the phone line right now. Livingston, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Livingston. Yes, you were saying.
I was saying that, Mark was giving the impression that apparently the students were under some kind of threat, and I don't think they were under any threat. So the idea that he said rescued, I think the choice of word probably should have been, secured, just in case, but they didn't have to be rescued. So it's important for us to put it in the proper perspective that they were, I don't think it was in the interest of the revolutionary forces to attack the American citizens. I thought that was clear from even indication after that was the thinking, and there was no attempt made to hold any hostage as bulwark to prevent, in order to prevent an attack by the American forces. So I think to secure them, I think that would be an accurate thing. As it relates to the terrain, when the soldiers landed here in Grenada, the American soldiers, they definitely came. I think they were en route them from Beirut, from Lebanon, and some of them came, as it was told, to Grenada. I don't think the briefing was as detailed as a regular or normal military operation. Well, I don't know of the others, but I think it was lacking in some detail, and that is information we got here from a lot of the soldiers that engaged the Americans.
Right. Mark, was the briefing that you guys got in retrospect, was it lacking?
Well, first, I agree with what Mr. Nelson said.
Yeah.
As far as the distinction between rescue and secure. Like, for example, we had to rescue the Governor General. He was being held under house arrest. And the students were on their campus, but, no one was holding a gun at him, making them stay there. So the mission was, I used the word rescue, but you could use the word secure. They went there to secure and protect the students. On the 25th, one soldier got killed at Point Salinas when they initially jumped in, the Rangers, and then when the Rangers were going to the True Blue Medical Campus, 4 United States Army Rangers got ambushed and got killed on the way there. So again, that I'll totally agree with that. I mean, with the mission was to go, I said rescue, but you could say secure or protect the medical students. But as far as not being, that's a misconception about saying the American soldiers weren't ready. I mean, this is what the soldiers are professional. That's their livelihood. That's their job. I mean, they are extremely talented and professional in what they do. And they're so good at their job. They didn't really need any maps. I talked to you before and I told you I didn't have a map of Grenada. And I probably traveled that island more than anybody else, because our second mission was to work with the Royal Grenadian Police Force. And I had to drive to all the police stations and all the major cities, Sartiers, Grenville, all those cities. I had to drive, and I didn't have a map, but I was able, to navigate and get to where I needed to go.
But what about coming in the bright daylight, when, as a professional military, everyone would assume that if you want to conceal, you will come in the darkness of the night?
Exactly. That was that. I think the exact time, like the Marines were on schedule. The Marines got to their mission on schedule. They flew in on helicopters to Pearls Airport, and I think they met their objective at 0500, and it was still dark. But the Army force, the Rangers, they had to fly all the way from the United States, and they ran into trouble while they were flying, and it put them behind schedule. And that's why they couldn't attack during nighttime. And another part of it was, again, they had, when those other forces, the SEAL Team 6, the Delta Force Commandos, when they arrived in Barbados, and they had to put the helicopters back together again. The helicopters were put in planes and flown to Barbados. And so once they got to Barbados, they had to take the helicopters off the planes, put them together, which took time. And that also made them fall behind schedule. It was just everything was planned to do it at a certain time when it was still darkness, but because of mishaps like that, they fell behind schedule.
And even before, as history told us, that even before the first helicopter landed or were able to disembark the soldiers in Grenada, they met tremendous amount of resistance. Were the team expecting that type of resistance from the Cuban and the military forces on the ground?
We were probably expecting even more, because we weren't sure how big. We were pretty sure how big the Cuban force was, which mainly consisted of about 700-800 construction workers and soldiers, a combination of both. But we weren't sure what the People's Revolutionary Armed Forces. We didn't know how big they were, because the Army portion of the PRAF, the People's Revolutionary Armed Forces, was about maybe 500-600 soldiers. But the bulk of the PRAF was going to be the militia, and we weren't sure how big the militia was. And so we were even expecting more resistance. But one of the biggest things was the army, the PRAF's army, was broken down into certain units. They had a mechanized infantry company, which was the APCs, and they used those APCs on Bloody Wednesday. They had a light infantry company. They had a rapid deployment force company, but their anti-aircraft battery, they had 18 anti-aircraft guns stationed all over the island, and they knew how to use them, and they used them good. And they shot down helicopters. I mean, they were good at what they did.
Yeah. Nelson, coming at any time here, right? But Winsome Slocum said here, so why did the New York Times wrote on Article 25 later stating that it was because of the Army engagement in Grenada that they learned to fight war differently?
Well, that's true too. We did make mistakes. There was a lot of mistakes. And again, this Operation Urgent Fury was the largest military operation since the Vietnam War. And, there were so many different parts to it: the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, Special Operations, the Caribbean Peacekeeping Force. There was so much stuff going on. It was hard to, get all those organizations to work so good together. So, yeah, there was a lot of lessons learned from that. And we,
right. Nelson, comment at any time.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm trying to start myself off. So go ahead. So I'm listening. I'm following.
Right. Okay, no problem.
I would jump in when I need to. Yeah.
No problem. So Mark, once you got on the ground in Grenada, tell me what you found. Tell me what you saw, and tell me what the resistance was like.
Okay. When we arrived at 0700. My unit was about the size of my unit was 183 paratroopers. The majority of them were military policemen. It was the 118th Military Police, and when we were coming in, we knew our mission was to guard the prisoners. That was our main mission. So when we got there, there was probably 650 prisoners already and thousands of refugees all over Point Salinas. So
Who was the prisoners?
At that time, they were mainly the Cuban soldiers and Cuban construction workers. But we were starting to get soldiers from the People's Revolutionary Armed Forces coming. When it was all said and done, we had a total of 1,143 prisoners. 668 Cuban prisoners and 475 People's Revolutionary Armed Forces prisoners.
Right.
So,
okay, I want to speak about the Cubans that was there, right? What was the reason they were kept prisoners? Were they a part of the resistance that fought?
Oh, absolutely. That's they were fighting there on Point Salinas. That's where they were. The majority of them were housed there. Like I said, when the Rangers came in, I think one Ranger got killed on the airfield. 4 Rangers got killed driving to the True Blue Medical Campus, but they think those soldiers were ambushed by the PRAF. But that's why we took the Cubans. Some Cubans surrendered, but a lot of Cubans kept fighting. The Cubans were under order from the president of Cuba, Fidel Castro, told them to fight to the death, don't surrender. And
Yeah.
you know, and it's a shame, 24 Cuban people died during that time period.
We got back Livingston Nelson back on the line. Livingston, could you hear me?
I'm hearing you. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you perfectly fine now. All right.
Good.
Thank you, Livingston, for joining us back with video. Let me cut off the phone lines right now. So, Livingston, a lot was said here.
Yes.
I don't know if you caught any piece of it that you want to interject on from a historical perspective.
Not really. I think Mark was doing a good job, and I really was concentrated on trying to get back live on the video. But based on what I heard he said, I don't know if anything I can actually disagree with or counteract at the moment.
Okay, all right. So Mark, you came in, you had tremendous resistance from the Cuban. You had which you had was 600 prisoners. You had militia or soldiers. What about the 17?
But Junior, before you go to Mark, maybe as he mentioned that, record shows that the Cuban, an order was sent to the Cubans that they should cease and desist from engaging in any battle. So when Mark mentioned a large number of Cuban forces being arrested, and that was true, but also or being detained. But we must remember that the order came from Cuba that they should cease and desist, do not engage, do not take part in the affairs. I think at a very short period of time, they felt that they were attacked at Point Salem where the base were.
Right.
And so they engaged the Americans. But soon thereafter, the order came in that they should not engage. So I think the Cuban withdrew from the fighting and didn't really actively participate in the effort. So I think we should also have that in perspective.
Right. Mark, does that sound like correct historical context?
Yeah, that sounds correct. Again, I think the initial orders to them was to fight to the death and not surrender. But then after that, I think they were told to, I don't know, not give up or something. It's just like General Hudson. He ordered the Grenadian people to resist the Americans, to resist the Caribbean Peacekeeping Force. That was his initial guidance, to tell them to resist. We're under attack. Resist. And and again, that's why, we were taking, my unit, we were there to help. We were there, guard those prisoners, take care of those prisoners. We had to, when we went up on top of the hill at Point Salinas, they were sitting on the top of a hill in the 110 degree heat. They had no food, they had no water, they had no place to go to the bathroom. So when we got there, not only guard them, we had to provide food for them, we had to provide water for them, we had to provide shelter for them, and that was part of our job. And the Cuban soldiers and construction workers, they finally realized that we're here to help them. We're going to help them, as long as they listen to us and don't break any rules.
Right. Nelson, come in at any time, eh? Because I tell you, Nelson is a historian. I just want to know if what actually happened on the ground actually matches up with the historical recollection.
Well, I don't think the Cubans would have ever think the Americans had to help them. But I think in war, I thought that I don't know if they were as prepared to fight. And what Mark said, I cannot dispute that. I was not there. in terms of needing maybe food and and water, etc. But I also believe that some of the Cubans were professionals, just the same, and they could survive maybe days with the little they had, not just as soldiers, but I think the whole society, Cuban society. But because they human, because they're human, and everybody value their life. I would agree that when the Americans came, since they were ordered not to engage, that they were prepared. It was a better solution for them to say, okay, well, we no longer engage in the war, and we need the food, we need we need water, we need refreshments, etc. So, that is in order.
Right. Mark, talk to us about the 17. The 17 that was now assessed or being assessed for the killing of the then prime minister. Did you guys had these guys locked up in your custody as well?
Okay, there was, the prisoner POW situation. It was very political situation. They didn't even want us to call the prisoners prisoners. They wanted us to call them detainees. And the prisoner of war camp would be called the detention center. So first, the detention center or EW camp was at Venus. And that's where we had so many prisoners, it wasn't big enough. So we built another camp. I told the vicinity of Grooms Beach, that area, which would have
Grooms Beach,
1,000 prisoners.
Right.
Grooms Beach. I think that was built. That was finally completed on the 3rd of November. Then we moved all the prisoners on top of that hill at Point Salinas to the new camp. And the majority of them were Cuban construction workers and soldiers. But now more of the PRAF, Revolutionary Armed Forces, whipped up and put into the camp. So so that was like on the 3rd of November. So around the 10th of November, all the Cuban soldiers and construction workers went. We sent them back to Cuba, and now the majority of the people in our camp were the PRAF, People's Revolutionary Armed Forces soldiers, either soldiers, militias, and again, some who got picked up by accident. And so they would get processed, and if they got picked up by accident, we immediately let them go. They might have been there for 1, 2, 3 days at the most.
What about the
again? I had no part of this.
Sorry, go ahead. Finish your thought.
Right.
Finish your thought.
Okay, the high-profile prisoner,
right.
Cord, Bernard Cord and his wife, and General Hudson Austin. So they were high-value prisoners. We didn't have them. They were flown to the USS Guam and kept under custody on the USS Guam. But now, and at the time, we didn't know anything about who the prisoners were or what they did, but we had some unruly prisoners from the PRAF. And
who was some of the unruly
they were
prisoners?
trying to escape.
Do you remember
Well,
them
at the
by
time,
name?
we didn't know who they were. Yeah, but at the time, no. At the time, we didn't know who they were. We didn't know what took place on Bloody Wednesday. We didn't know any of that stuff. But I came to find out later that some of the prisoners were, let me get their names, were, I gotta find their names.
Does Abdullah ring a bell?
Yeah, some of the prisoners were Lieutenant Inman Abdullah, Lieutenant Fester Redhead, and Colonel Everett Lane. So, again, our whole main job was to take care of the prisoners. As long as they did what we told them to do, we took care of them, sheltered them, fed them, gave them water, gave them clothing. And we also had the International Red Cross there with us, helping us take care of these prisoners. But at times, some of the prisoners got out of line, and we had to put them in isolation booths, and for a punishment because they were getting out of line. And again, at that time, we didn't know who any of these people were. But I think the ones that were trying to escape and the ones getting out of line were part of that, what they call the Grenada 17 people.
Right. Let's go to Livingston now. Livingston, so far, everything match up to historical recollection?
Yeah, I think he's going good. And the truth be told, I am here mainly. I really want to learn from Mark because he's coming from a different perspective.
Yes.
And so I am. I really would like to listen a lot from his side of the story and what happened, because that is a first for me. So
right.
When I don't jot in, I'm okay.
Right.
So
Okay.
You're doing a really good job with him so far.
Perfect. So, did you know what Abdullah was accused of? You said you didn't know, but did you learn later what Abdullah and the 17 was actually accused of?
Yeah, I learned. I didn't know. I didn't know anything at that time. In 1983 in October and stuff. And but then, like I said, doing research for my book, I studied the revolution. I studied the whole military operation. Yeah, and then they were involved on Bloody Wednesday. So that's all I knew. So to the extent of their involvement,
you spoke also about. I am. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
you hear me? I would like Mark to. Apart from, were you getting from the soldiers a sense of like they really wanted to continue fighting, that you felt that they detested the American? Did what was the impression you get from the soldiers in terms of the whole mannerism towards you and your other colleagues and your other military men? Were they sometimes some soldiers go and they tire, they feel like they reach to the end. Did you get from the Grenadian prisoners and people from the PRA that they wish they could have continued fighting you some more?
No, not the majority. The majority of again the Cubans and the
not
PRA.
The Cubans. I'm thinking about mainly the locals, not the Cubans.
Yeah, no. Again, the majority, no. The majority was very cooperative. Didn't give us a hard time, but again, there was a few that were getting out of line and stuff like that. Which,
when you say get out of line, what were they doing?
We had specific rules that they had to abide by, and if they didn't abide by those rules, we told them you're going to get in trouble. Like they lived in tents, and we said you can't come out of the tent at nighttime. 3 sides of the tent has to be rolled up, and there's a whole bunch of just specific rules that we had, and there were some that were violating the rules. And and again, at the time, we didn't know who these people were.
Right.
But,
right.
Again, from my studying the revolution, I figured out that that's who those guys were.
You spoke about the isolation area and the area where those prisoners would be put if they disobey laws or rules by the soldiers. What was the isolation ward like, and who most frequent the isolation? Who were some of the prisoners that was unruly to the soldiers that would get put there more times than that?
The isolation area was like a booth, a 6x6 booth. They were placed in that. And as far as who, was in them the most, that wasn't my job at the time. So, who, again, we were very naive. We didn't know who these people were. All we knew, our job was to guard them. And so I can't say it was this guy or that guy, or but there were some unruly prisoners that definitely didn't want to be there.
Junior,
Go ahead, Mr.
Mark, as part of your briefing, what were you told about the Grenadian soldier in terms of soldiers in terms of your preparation? Did you came through thinking it is a small island and they were just regular like Boy Scouts, etc., people just happy with guns? Or when you came, were you told that these people might be highly trained and maybe highly motivated, and so they can be as lethal as any other soldier? What was your thinking as you interface with them, and what was part of your briefing coming to Grenada in dealing with the Grenadian soldiers?
Yeah, when we arrived here, we got a briefing from our commander, and he said, "Hey, this is the real deal. We're playing hardball here." He says, "This is serious business." So we knew not to. This is the real thing. So we knew we were in. Take this very seriously, or something can go wrong, and we were prepared because we thought the force was even bigger than what it was. So, but again, the whole thing was once we controlled the prisoners, we wanted to help them, more than anything else. And I think we did that. I mentioned that, there was a place in St. George called Ross's Food Stuff in St. George. Mm-hmm. We bought about $15,000 worth of food, so the prisoners could have coffee, juice, beans, bread, applesauce, stuff like that. So, but once they were apprehended, the majority of them, they were all pretty much like, "Hey, the game's over. You need to cooperate." And again, most of them did cooperate.
Yeah. Guys, we're having this conversation here with Mark. He's a retired Army vet who were in Grenada during the invasion. He was there, basically rounding up the prisoners and creating that holding operation with the prisoners. We're talking about over 600 Cubans and over 300 or so local PRA militias and others, including the 17 that we now learn as the Grenadian 17 that was also apprehended there. The three high profile. Who was it? Cord, the four high profile was Cord, his wife, and Austin. It was only those three that was taken to Guam.
Those are the only three I'm aware of. There might have been more, but those are the only three that I was aware of.
Right. And we want you guys to participate in the conversation. So call in right now. Give us your recollection. Give us, your where you were, how you experienced that time in history 39 years ago. The number you could call is 718-701-5720. 718-701-5720. Mark, what about the general population? I don't know if you were asked about that before, but the general population, how were you received? How were the American soldiers received by Grenadians?
Well, I told you before, I truly think that the Grenadian people are the salt of the earth. They love their culture, they love their country. Than anything else, they love being free. And I understand some people didn't want us there, but in my experience, the majority of the Grenadian people, we all got along with them. They all, we liked them. We treated them with respect. And we were very well. We were welcome there. We were welcome. I told there was a story where there was a cafe on the side of the road by the I think it's called the Ross Point Hotel. Mm-hmm. I was driving by there one day, and a soldier asked me if we go in there and get a soda. And we went in to get a soda. And as soon as we walked in the door, the gentleman that owned the cafe, I think his name was Joseph, he said, "Come on in. You know, you can have anything you want in here. Thanks for coming." And, you know, the gentleman stuck his hand out to shake my hand. And the first thing I noticed, he didn't have any thumbs. And so yeah, I didn't say anything about it, but the other soldier that was with me, you know, he wanted to stay there and talk to him. And he asked him what happened to his thumbs. And he explained to me that about a year before that, they wanted him to join the militia in St. George, and he wouldn't join. So one night he said the PRAF soldiers and Cuban soldiers came to his house and drug him outside and cut his thumbs off. So, but yeah, as a whole, I mean, again, we got along so good with, again, we were there for a long time, because after that mission, our next mission was to work with and train the Royal Grenadian Police Force. So yeah, we got, everything was, Grenadian people are great. It was a great country, and in the majority, they accepted us there.
Yeah. Again, Nelson, coming at any time.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to find out from you, because I've heard reports thereafter, like 10 or so 12 days after the invasion, there were 1 or 2 attempts of sniper shots being fired. Did you ever heard of snipers, people in the bush firing at American soldiers when they passed, anything like that?
Oh yeah, it's going on well into November, and
right.
Actually, I got it in my book. I don't remember the exact day, but when we were protecting the medical students, they came out under sniper attack, and
the medical student, the medical student came under sniper attack.
Yeah, when we were protecting them, and the military. I wasn't there at the time, but it was at the True Blue campus, and this was. I could look it up. I forget the exact date, but it was a couple of days later. They came out under sniper attack, and the military police that were there, they took off their protective vests, their flak vests, gave it to the students, and told them to get down, stay down. They took them into a hallway where there was no windows, to protect them. And then they went out searching for the snipers. We called in attack helicopters to look for the snipers who were shooting. But yeah, that was going on well into the, days, couple of weeks after the initial thing. There was still a little hostility going on.
Right. But who would have been shooting at the students?
I don't know. We never found them, but somebody was. Someone was shooting.
Mark, at one time, there was a serious standoff at Bushiju. We just claim a few Americans got killed. The Grenadian soldiers launched an attack against the American forces there. And for a matter of fact, I think there was actually an amphibious, I don't know if it's an amphibious unit that stayed on sea and actually fired inland on some battery that was posted on a hill over Bushiju. Are you aware of that story at all that took place?
What was the name of the location?
It's actually St. George, but the area you used to call Bushiju.
Oh, Bushy George?
Bushiju.
Bushy George. I'm familiar with
but was there any ambush at all, like by Grenadian soldiers? Actually, apart from Bushiju, there's the next one, but are you aware of any ambush by Grenadian soldiers on the American troops? Are you aware of any at all?
Yeah, they think, they're not sure, but the soldiers on the first day, the soldiers that got killed were ambushed by the PRAF. Going
Where,
to
where
the troop.
you have an idea of where do you recall which exact location that was? Is in St. George, but do you know if it is in going
Yeah,
back
it
to
was.
True Blue? Huh?
Yes, sir. It was in between Point Salinas and True Blue Medical Campus. Somewhere in between there.
Okay, we got a
So
call
I
on the
don't
line.
know.
We got a call on the line. Let's take this call real quick.
Sir, it
Caller,
was-
where are you calling us
it
from?
was in between Point Salinas.
Yes, Junior, Mr. Gilbert here.
Yes. Hey, Elimus Gilbert, how are you
You
doing?
know, you know, I like that conversation.
Yes.
I joined in late about 5 minutes ago, and I don't know if anybody asked the question already, but can Mr. Mark is his name? Mark?
Mr. Mason. Yeah. Mark Mason.
Mason, Mr. Mason. Mark Mason, yeah. Can he tell us if you have any idea if the Americans have Bishop body? Yeah, the body. I don't know if anybody asked the question.
Yeah.
yet,
Well, we
if
was
you have
getting
any idea,
we was
then-
getting to that because we know that
Mom, into
everybody
that.
wants to know that.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
we know that.
Okay,
We know
thank
that is the question that everybody wants to know. If
Okay.
where is Bishop body? And we'll get to that. We'll get to that, Specky. You preempted it, but we'll get to it a little bit. Thank you, Specky. Yeah. Hold on. Again, guys, 718-701-5720. And the question that Specky asked, as you could imagine, everybody wants to know, Mark. Where is Morris Bishop body? Did the American have Bishop body? Do the American know where Bishop body is? You as a soldier, did you have any interaction? Did you have any information as to where the body would have been taken?
No. I mean, back then, again, I was just a soldier. I didn't even know who Maurice Bishop was at the time. So, I mean, our main mission was to go there and help the Grenadian people, and all that other politics stuff. I have no idea, other than, what I learned later from my research about the revolution. So, I mean, at the time, I didn't know who Maurice Bishop was. I didn't know who Bernard Cord was. I didn't know who the Central Committee was. We were just there, doing our job, trying to help the Grenadian people. I wish I could give you a better answer, but I don't have answers to any of those questions. So
Yeah.
I think
I know that's
later on-
people are still.
Livingston, go ahead.
I think later on we would find out from Mr. Mark in terms of Mr. Mason, in terms of his research for his book. At least I believe that is one of those things he had to address. Maybe not while he was a soldier, but thereafter, thereafter. Yeah. So I think
Sure.
we would come to that just now.
I want to play back this clip. I was just searching for it. I just found it. This is an interview that was done on GBN quite a few years ago with Bernard Cord, and this is what Bernard Cord had to say in regard to Bishop's body. Take a listen.
I want to say to the new administration in America that there will be embarrassment over denying it all the time, trying to put the blame on the 17, knowing full well you have it. But you in the new administration, you had no part in this. You had no part in this. You have an opportunity now to start the slate clean. What happened in the Reagan administration, don't let that hold you back. Make the efforts. Come clean. Come clean. You go all over Vietnam, Korea, everywhere, searching for the remains of your soldiers in wars that were fought decades ago. Treat our people the same way. You are not to blame. You are not to blame. It happened by previous American administrations. You have an opportunity to, in fact, do the right thing. I'm asking you to do the right thing.
Right. So that was Bernard Cord stating that the Americans know where is the body. The Americans know where the body is. And this is a question that everyone is asking. And I don't know. We even heard from that documentary that I put on the platform earlier with Abdullah, when Abdullah was saying almost the same thing. Has that ever been resolved, or do you think that this would ever be resolved, Nelson? The question as to where is Bishop body? Who has Bishop body? Who knows the whereabouts of where his body was buried?
But there are two things there. The first one, and let me start with the intention of the execution. The execution, and Mr. Mark as a soul, Mr. Mason as a soldier, you would know. No one, no constable, no regular soldier, private soldier, execute a general and remain free. No general will execute the president or prime minister of a country without a serious order from on top. It has to be the ultimate. So the execution and assassination of Maurice Bishop was a deliberate ploy. It was it couldn't be through a crossfire. And then you had 6 days where nobody asked you or tried to ask for the executioner to come in. So this was deliberate. That's the first thing. The second thing, when Maurice got killed and with the other persons, a local Grenadian machine operator was taken from his bed, drove down or driven to Calavini, where they dug a hole, and they tried to burn the body. Now, they tried to burn the bodies because they didn't want Maurice to be a martyr. And so they wanted to obliterate all evidence of the fact that Maurice, who was the embodiment of the Grenadian Revolution in the first place. So that, again, that attempt to burn the bodies was a deliberate attempt by the person that was in charge of the country. Now, that if I want to backtrack, when the CC Central Committee gave well, it sounded like a suggestion, but it was an order that there must be joint leadership. This had to be obeyed. It was not a question. Of course, they discussed it. They tried to find an amicable solution to that, but that was an order. When Bishop vacillated, he basically signed his death warrant. Apart from that, probably what really triggered it off, and I was speaking to someone very influential Grenadian today, and he said that probably what really expedite that assassination of Maurice was when Vincent Well, in a conversation they had, said to people like Ewart Lane that you may as well give up yourself to the nearest police station. So I wanted to say that those that executed Bishop, they wanted to obliterate, they wanted to hide the fact that they didn't want Maurice to be a martyr. But it was also the policy of the Americans. But again, let me put that in perspective before I go into that discussion. There was like 6 days. So Maurice was assassinated. The people at the Revolutionary Council, they were not aware what the Grenadian population would do. They would not react. They don't know what reaction they was going to get. So mentally and otherwise, they were preparing for a backlash from the Grenadian people. Mr. Mason, as a soldier, would tell you, you know an invading force is coming. So the Grenadian soldiers, they had to place weapons at certain strategic point. They had to develop a counter attack from the Americans that was definitely coming. So the whole focus was mainly on preparing for war, and it could have been on 2 or 3 fronts. The third factor, they were not aware of the reaction that they were going to get from the Cubans. So the Grenadian soldiers were under were under extreme stress, preparing for war from maybe 3 different fronts at that time. So the whole idea of securing or hiding the remains of this was a scrappy job, and they were not in a very good position to do it. So I want us to put everything in context. They were not in a good position. The best effort was to burn the bodies. That was not very successful, but they put most of the bodies in a large grave, and they covered it. When the Americans came, and if you would listen to Mr. Mason, and that was very instrumental, they had over 600 Cubans, over 400 local forces. These people were arrested. They had most of the high-ranking members of the military People Revolutionary Army in custody. The Americans are much better at extracting information than our local soldiers. So the Americans knew, and they were able to find out who did the shooting. The Americans knew where the bodies were, etc., etc. Ultimately, the bodies remain with the Americans. If nothing else, that is one point I agree with Bernard Cole, that the Americans are the ones that are responsible for the bodies of Maurice Bishop and others. But let me just say, in terms of the American policy that remain, when the Americans went for bin Laden, no one found the bodies of bin Laden because it was, and that is where the RMC and the American policy, as it relates to our heroes, collide into one, became one. The Americans do not want you to worship or to martyr persons that are generally opposed to their policy. So it was in the interest of the Americans to hide, to disfigure, to confuse the Grenadian people about the bodies of Maurice Bishop. Just like what they did with bin Laden. It was said that they threw the bodies in the middle of the ocean. The people that have the answers for Maurice Bishop bodies must be the Americans.
Right.
That is my take.
Mark, is it possible that your team, your company, was not allowed or not given information to that level? Say the CIA branch would be working on intelligence and information pertaining to this type of things, and you as a soldier was not given that type of intelligence. Is that possible?
Right? That all our responsibility was to guard them. Our responsibility wasn't to interrogate them, extract information. Again, our job was just to guard them, make sure they don't escape, and protect them, provide stuff for them. I have no idea as far as interrogation, extracting information, and again, as far as the the PRAF, the People's Revolutionary Armed Forces, majority of those prisoners we just kept for a very short period of time, maybe a day, 2 days, and we released them. And the ones that we didn't release were turned over to the Richmond Hill prison. So,
but Junior, let me ask Mr. Mark, Mr. Mason. In your research, when you were doing your book, was that an area at all that you investigated?
I did, and from my research, you talk about taking the body and burning it, and there, there's other stuff. They're saying that the CIA was involved in stuff, but I think, that body was taken. Those bodies were taken, and those bodies were burned. And after that, not too many people know what happened. And the whole thing about they discovered bodies, they did DNA tests on them and stuff like that. And but again, that I mean, somebody on the island of Grenada has the answer.
No, Junior, no, not somebody on the island of Grenada. Listen, the grave, the site, the mass grave, that site remain. As I said, think about the mental. And Mr. Mason, you are a soldier, or you are a soldier. You are preparing for war, and it could have been on three fronts. That hiding the evidence of the body was the least of your concern. You thinking about your survival now, not the preservation of your name, but your physical survival, right? And that survival now, it's about how do you safeguard yourself from, it could have been the Cubans who pledged not to fight against you prior to, but now you have assassinated the leader. You don't know what the reaction might do, what Rizzo or Fidel might order. That is the first thing. Secondly, the Grenadian populace. And as a Grenadian, you for somebody that been here for a while, you said for 1 year, you had to know that Grenadians, a lot of Grenadians love Maurice. So those that actually executed Maurice, they knew that too. Yes, so they were not aware of the reactions, and a lot of Grenadians were armed. So they're not so sure if some forces would rise up within the ranks of the PRA or from the militia in order to challenge their authority. And the third thing, they are preparing for a war from a forces that is extremely much more superior. The focus now was on the preservation. Where do you put the anti-aircraft gun? Who do you deploy here? Who do you put up, etc., etc. As a soldier, you're thinking now. I am saying all that, but I'm also saying after from the 26th, from the 27th, the Americans are the ones that got hold of the bodies. The bodies that were supposed to go to SGU, arrive in SGU. I mean, most of the bodies were intact. When they went to SGU, they were not intact. So the Americans tampered with the remains. They were not intact when they went to SGU. You talk, where were all these skulls? You're talking about fingers and ring on fingers, etc. There was a lot more to the bodies, and so somebody deliberately tampered with the bodies before from Calivity gravesite before it reached to the St. George's SGU, St. George's University.
I want to play back a video here, right?
As I said, it is the philosophy of the Americans to not to allow persons to have a hero worship. Yeah, so that is incongruent with the basic policy, as it happened to all other leaders they have gotten rid of in the past.
Right. I want to play back this video. This video is from a documentary, and I did a vlog on it, but I want to take a look at it. And it gives the recollection of a few individuals who was a part of the city Central Committee, and also Abdullah himself speaking about what was done on the fort. Take a look at this, guys.
Well, basically you can find them.
Now, there were many stories that have been told about what actually transpired.
And more down.
Maurice Bishop was asked to turn his back, and so were the others asked to, but he refused. He said he looked it straight in the eye. So he was shot looking at them straight in the eye. Jacqueline Craft, I understand, had asked, begun to ask for some relief and asked me to be shown some mercy. And she was machine gun also in that process. The other three people who were put into the execution line, who were not in the building with Maurice Bishop, but who were captured at the top end of the fort, were Evelyn Bullen, Evelyn Maitland, and Keith Haley. They were also killed on the same. They were actually killed at the same time, and they were in the execution line.
Did you line them up? No, I wouldn't say we lined them up. They were basically on the top square, where we were bringing them to the prison that we had up there. We were basically on the way to the top square. Those that we were gathering, we brought them up on the top square.
Machine gun them?
Well, I had an automatic rifle. Other men had different weapons. I didn't think we were necessarily having, we wanted this or that weapon. It's what men had at the time, right? So that would have been the situation that unfolded.
Who actually participated in the shooting, in the firing squad? I know there were five people. Who were they? Abdullah, whose correct name is Callistus Bernard, Lester Redhead, then three privates. Andy Mitchell, Inculcate is the fourth one, that's a nickname. And I don't recall immediately the name of the fifth one, but just five of them.
There was talk that fingers were cut off during the execution. People were half alive and they were machine gunned again. Did these sort of things happen? Well, that was again, it might sound kind of crazy, but this was just total make-up evidence. This evidence was used to try to trap Lester Redhead because they had no evidence against him. So they claim that basically he cut off Maurice Bishop's finger and he cut off his neck, tried to use him as not just a bandit, but like a war criminal. So these, to be quite frank with you, I could tell you with utmost certainty that that evidence was made up by those who really wanted him. They wanted him to hang.
What did Morris and Jackie Kraft and the others, what did they say?
Well, Morris was pretty calm. I think Morris was smoking at one time, smoking a cigarette or something like that. And he looked basically, I think he looked kind of spaced out. I think a couple of the others tried to make certain points and things like that, but there was arguing with going on and so on. But I don't think there wasn't any sort of kind of speeches or any kind of thing like that, because the soldiers were cussing as well, and accusing them of what they're doing and for what happened and things like that. So there was a certain back and forth between the soldiers and some of them that was there. But certainly with Morris Bishop, he didn't have anything to say.
People say that he was asked to turn his back and he said, "No, I refuse to do that. I'm going to face my people."
No, I'm not that. That certainly didn't happen in my presence. I think that was just people talking in anything.
Jackie Kraft?
Well, there is talk that they say she's pregnant and things like that. Some of that came out in the court case, that she put up her hand and said she was pregnant and things like that. I don't know. I was present there for the whole time, and certainly that didn't occur. That was just to put additional sensationalism to the whole thing, and there was a mood in the whole situation there that you find whenever soldiers get cornered and shot at and killed. Right, that happened in all parts of the world. That kind of revenge, if you want to put it, or whatever, comes up as a riding factor here, right? And things go on. So that is the basis, the psychological condition that was existing that propelled that kind of situation. So that would be kind of what happened basically on the 19th.
But what did you actually do?
Well, we basically opened fire on them.
They are now talking among themselves about the way in which the execution took place. As a matter of fact, Abdullah was telling that particular person that when the execution was over, that Fitzroy Bain was not dead. He had thrown himself down early before the firing started, and so he was not hit. And among the dead bodies, he was lying there, and then attempted to get up when he thought everybody had left, and Abdullah saw him and mashed him down.
One of you must have made the decision to do this. Who was responsible?
Well, I take responsibility for that. As I said from the beginning, I took responsibility for what happened when the chaos started.
Sorry, I was saying that this is so sad to look at, guys. Every time I look at it, it's so sad because it's just not us. What happened there is so much not us. It's not how we behave as a people. It's not us. We're not vindictive people like that. And to hear how he just speak about this thing, just so nonchalant, like, yeah, I just gunned them down. It is sad. It is sad. But we needed to play it back. Mason, you remember this guy? You remember having him in detention?
Again, I didn't know who the people were.
That's Abdullah.
That's Abdullah?
Yes.
No, I didn't recognize him.
But he was in detention. He was at your facility.
I found out after.
Okay.
Again, I didn't know. We didn't know who any of these characters were. We didn't know anything about them. And
right.
But after again doing my research, I found out who some of them who they might have been.
Yeah.
So, but no, I agree with you 100%. The stuff I read about what went on and how vicious people were and the way they were treated, and again, the example of pulling some guy out of his house in the middle of the night and cutting his thumbs off. He told me that first person, and I read about all this other stuff, and my experience with the Grenadian people are nothing like that. I find all that stuff hard to believe because my experience, they were very kind, thoughtful, nice people. So, and again, I don't know any of the politics about this. I definitely didn't know anything about it then.
Right.
We were just soldiers trying to do our job and, trying to help. And, it's unfortunate what happened. And,
Mr. Mason, how consistent is that story that a lieutenant, without having order from above, would execute or give order to, without getting an order from above, a prime minister and some of the other cabinet members? How believable is that story in your mind as a soldier?
Well, as a soldier and as a person, the point is somebody gave the order. Someone took the initiative to do it, and somebody did because it happened.
Right. But you're saying as a soldier, you understand the rank of a soldier. As a soldier, a single soldier wouldn't take the authority to assassinate a president or a prime minister. He has to get the order from a higher authority in order to assassinate. I mean, we're talking about a prime minister, head of state.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's we had. That's not necessarily true because as a soldier myself, I wouldn't do that. But I mean, we had people in our country try to kill our president. So,
well, an assassination attempt, yeah, but you're talking about a gathering like that, where you have a few persons. To give that ultimate order to kill a soldier, I mean, there are attempts to assassinate a president or a prime minister by one assassin hiding in some place because over some grievances, etc. But you have a gathering like that, almost in a public place, and you line up a prime minister with other members of cabinet, and you you execute them. And 5 days pass and nobody asked for the arrest of Lieutenant Mark Mason. That is strange. In your book, it's not strange as a soldier that you can execute a head of state and then nobody come looking for you?
Well, I don't know, because I mean, we weren't even there then. We weren't even there at that time.
I'm just using your example.
Yeah.
We weren't even there. And
so let me ask you then. So Mark, why were Bernard Code, his wife, and HA considered high profile?
Because of their position. Because of their position in the government there. The the general of the army, the assistant prime. I don't know if did you call him the assistant prime minister or
the deputy prime minister?
At that time, he was the prime minister.
At the time, he was the prime minister.
Very short time, yeah. But
right.
I mean, they were labeled high priority, and they never came to our detention facility or never seen them, and
right.
So,
what about Paul Schoon? What about Sir Paul Schoon? Have you ever had any kind of interaction with him?
Myself personally, no, but I know soldiers that spoke to him, and and he was I guess he was a great guy because he was the Governor General before the revolution, and he was the Governor General after the revolution. So. Yeah, I have friends that's spoken to him, but I've never spoken to him personally.
Right. Again, guys, we have the phone lines open up. This is a conversation here with Mark, who is a retired Army vet. He was in Grenada during Operation Urgent Fury. He's just giving us some information, kind of giving us some information that we never had before from on the ground as a soldier. Right, and being in the detention facility where he housed over 1,000 prisoners, right? And you said earlier, which was interesting, that there was one soldier who continuously said, "Well, it wasn't me; it was Abdullah that did it."
again, that, you know, I found this out after during my
Right.
research. But yeah, there was some unruly, you know, PRAF, and they had to be put into the isolation booth. And again, I don't know who they were at the time.
Mr. Mason, was there a quarrel? Was there a quarrel between the soldiers, or did you find a sense of unity amongst them? Or what?
No, they were arguing between themselves. Certain individuals would argue between themselves. So
Yeah. We got a call. We got a call on the line. Caller live, where you calling us from?
Hey, Junior, I'm calling from New York.
Go right ahead, New York.
Yes, what I want to find out, I'm a little confused because, okay, normally when America go to invade a country, like if they go in any other country, they will, like, okay, like how they killed Bishop, the prime minister of a country. Abdul, we never heard anything about Abdul anymore. Where is he? We want to know. We
No, he
want
was
closure.
arrested.
That's
He was
all we want.
arrested. He was arrested with the 17.
Uh-huh.
He did his time, and it was released.
And he's not wrong. He's walking.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to tell me they couldn't, like, they had no clue, nothing about Bishop body? We as a Grenadian people, because I think every year this is like, the soil is getting really bigger and bigger. It's like they're throwing salt on the wound. We're not getting closure. Where is the body? Like, at least tell us something.
Right.
We just want to know something. Tell us something. Because what I can understand, okay, Americans been in the waters of Grenada way before the 19th, okay? Like the guest said, the Bloody Wednesday. Okay, so how all right after Bloody Wednesday that America was on our soil, like they've been there to invade, to come and rescue. And the thing he said about the Cubans, that was totally not true. The Cubans never was fighting with us. The Cubans wanted to get out of Grenada more than anything else. Castro never gave the Cubans orders to fight. That's not true.
No, well, he's not saying
Americans
that
came.
he's not saying that the Cuban was fighting Grenadians. The Cuban was on the ground.
No, not Grenadians. He said the Cubans was fighting. That was not true. The Cubans was not fighting.
Well, he's saying that the Cuban put up a resistance. Initially, the Cuban put up initial resistance. Mark, you wanna speak on it?
yeah, sure. Yeah, the Cubans were fighting. The Cubans were fighting the American soldiers when they landed on Point Salinas. They killed us.
Oh, really?
They were killing some of us.
But that happened only for a very short period of time, Junior. That happened only for a very short period of time,
Right,
as I said.
right.
And the Cubans base, there was this argument where the Americans should not attack the Cubans because the Cubans were not part of the fight. The Cuban base was attacked, and so there was some firing. But again, in a short space of time, the Cubans ceased and desist all military action. So the Cubans
they fought for a while. They resisted for a long time. It wasn't like a day and they stopped. There was days. There was a place called Little Havana where they were held up, and this is probably
from my information, Junior, the Cubans after being attacked on the camp, the Cubans tried to flee, so they fled in hiding with the intention that they was not going to be engaged in the war. Because if the Cubans really intended to fight, they was going to be together with the Grenadian soldiers fighting. The Cubans remain together as one, and they flee rather than seriously resist. If they were actively fighting, there was going to be a lot more death in that invasion.
Right.
So the Cubans was not actively participating in the fight. They never joined forces with the Grenadians to go active for any period of time. So the Cubans cease and desist very early in the game.
Right. We got a caller. We got a caller on the line. We got a caller.
You have a caller. To accept the
Yeah, we got a caller on the line right now. Caller live, where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, go right
Good
ahead.
evening.
Yes.
I have a question for the soldier. I
Mr.
don't remember his name. I'm
Mark
sorry.
Mason, yes.
Mr. Mason. This question is for Mr. Mason. Was he on one of the warships that were outside on the waters?
Mark?
I want to know.
No, I was
Oh.
Now, the previous caller said something about us being in the waters prior to the 19th, which is not true. The United States Navy wasn't directed. They weren't even in the Grenadian waters on the 20th. On the 20th, they were directed to stand by off the coast of Dominica and Puerto Rico. That was on the 20th of October. And no, ma'am, I wasn't on I was a Army soldier who was part of a unit, was responsible for guarding the prisoners, protecting the medical students, and helping the refugees, the displaced Grenadian citizens.
No, the reason I asked because I know back then the battleships that came to Grenada, they were very close, right? They were not necessarily in the Grenadian waters. Yes, that is true, but they were supposedly deployed to somewhere in South America, and they were told to stand by. So it wasn't. It's not like America wasn't quite aware of what was happening, or that they were not very concerned about Grenada's strategic position in the Caribbean and what would happen if Russia was to get in there. I mean, you know, it's just like now with the war that's going on in Russia and the Ukraine, it's all because NATO, Ukraine decided they wanted to get into NATO, and Russia was like, not in my face. This is too close for America to be in my face, right? So it's the same kind of thing. So it's so disheartening to keep hearing constantly about they were coming to defend and to protect this 100 students and all of that, and you know all the things that has happened since then. You know, we've heard Sir Paul said that the bodies were burned, but still, even if the bodies were burned, where the remains from the bodies that was supposedly burned? You know, and it's nice that you could come and shed some light as to your story based on your participation, but you know, it still leaves a lot to be desired, the whole story, you know. There's so much that's still, you know, a lot is missing, but we want a little more truth from, I guess, everybody. So I just wanted to know if you were on one of the battleships. So thank you so much. Have a good day.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for the concern. And again, you know, I'm not in any position to answer those questions. I was just a regular soldier, following orders, all that other stuff. You know, I don't have any answers for that. And no, I don't have any answers and no interest in it.
Right.
And, you know, I'm sorry. You know, you want to get answers, but
yeah.
You know, I wouldn't know. And,
you see, Livingston, one of my problem about the history of the Grenada Revolution is there are so many people, Grenadians I'm talking about, who do not want to give this information out there. I saw Chester Humphrey on GBN yesterday, and you called in as well, right?
Yeah.
And you know, question have been asked, and these people, they have answers. And Chester reverted to, okay, well, you know, there's certain things I would not speak about, and I probably would, and I'm not quoting him now, say something to the effect that, you know, if he do decide to write a memoir, he's 70 right now, right? If he do decide to write a memoir someday, he'll put it in. We have so many people that have information that could help just connect the dots. Our own Grenadians that are holding back that history, they are dying, and that history is never been told. That history will never be told because they choose to keep their mouth shut about the history that happened in Grenada.
But I think it's not just that now, Junior. Not just about keep the mouth shut, but the reason why I called, I believe there was a deliberate effort on his part to continue is like and the attack to continue trying to demonize further Gary. And a lot of times I thought he was trained from the questions that was asked, because one actually wanted, the host was actually asking for answers, looking for answers. So I think, I don't know if we're not giving people the right forum. We're not giving people the right forum to open up and to speak out, knowing that other persons would like to hear the truth at least once and for all, no matter how much it hurts. And we're not getting that. We're not getting that openness that that people must talk. And today somebody called me because of that intervention I made on that program with Chester Humphrey. And the person said that he believed a lot of Grenadians, a lot of those guys are hurting. I said, I believe that if they are hurting, then why they don't just come clean with the story and rest the case and we can all move on? Maurice Bishop was assassinated. A series of things went wrong. Why try to hide to say that you were still that good? It was, this elitist soldier or this hardline communist or so on, and so you had no feelings. It seemed like. So my thing is like, just put all the pieces and wherever it falls, and then move on with your life. And I think that is what Grenadians are hoping for. That we can shed some light. My involvement was X, Y, or Z. That is what happened. That is what I saw from my vantage point. And then just move on after, because it is important for a lot of other persons to know the truth, and healing may be difficult, but people need to heal. And I in the last, I would say 2 years, so much more information came out that was not privy to the general populace. So it would be important that all the major players just try to put truth in its right perspective, and then just let the chips fall. Apart from that, no one is getting younger, and I just see the need for us to be going to agree with all this heavy thing on us. Just say, listen, Maurice, we executed Maurice, we took a decision. And all the other stories of the revolution, so the Grenadian population can move.
Absolutely. I think that need to be echoed in all forums, all aspects, because the truth about it still remain that this is not written in much history books. In fact, when I was growing up, I knew nothing about what happened. I was 7 years old. I was young them time. I knew nothing about it. I knew everything about Christopher Columbus' ship, but I knew nothing about this. And I would expect that at least teach us about our history. Let us understand a little bit about our history. Is now that I'm in media and I'm asking to have folks like you. I learn a lot from Livingston Nelson and other people that I spoke to. I even had a conversation, chat with Bernard Code online one time. We talk from time to time. But I see the apprehension of coming on.
One of the things that was disappointing for me with Bernard, and there are certain things I believe he's a very, very educated man. Bernard is extremely intelligent, and it is unfortunate that I would say his intelligence has not been used for the best purpose, to advance Grenada. But after 26 years in prison, Bernard still came out and he wrote a book, The Grenada Revolution. And he said in the book that Maurice died through crossfire. And that to me, I've read the book, but that one part is extremely troubling. You spent all these years in prison, and you came out and you still saying that Maurice died through crossfire. When they were removed from one side, you listen to Abdullah interview, he said there was an argument and he didn't say how actually Bishop got killed. But, he said they didn't line up, they were just there. How you have guns, the people on the other side, only one side of people get killed and they were not lined up. The point I'm making is that after all these years, what is the story you're trying to preserve? Just let truth reign, and just say it as it is and move on with your life. I just think it would have been better for everybody, including all the players.
Yeah. I want to play back another quick clip, guys. Let's.
I said, are they casualties? He said, yes. I said, Morris? Let me do a process of elimination to tell you what it is. And I'm going to tell you my personal, not just my recollection, my personal involvement. All right. I came from Russia in June of 1983. I went to Cuba, came back from Cuba in August of 1983, by which time the party was already populating and there were all issues about what happened in the party. It was not about the government, it was not about Morris, it was not about the PRG. As a matter of fact, the New Jewel movement wanted to go back to the situation when they had two joint coordinating secretaries to share the work. In this case, it would have been Morris and Bernard Cole. All right, fast forward, everybody in the party, 600 and whatever members of us, agreed. One person abstained, Zahir Luzon. Abstained. Only person abstained. I was sitting right behind Morris. And he got up and said, he agrees in principle with everything else. He just wants to have a couple of days to see how we can operationalize that system now that we are in power. His exact words. All right. Fast forward to the question, to the issue of putting him under house arrest. That, in hindsight, was a grave mistake. Okay. After all of that happened, on the day that he was murdered, and I'm not using the word guardedly, I'm saying it was murder. Let's be very clear. I happen to have been, and I could give you my personal recollection. I was assigned to the Guav Western Army, even though I didn't wear uniform for many one number of years. And I came down from that assignment to go to Grenada Beach Hotel because I was a member of the board of directors at Grenada Beach Hotel, and we had to pay workers. So I came down to do that. But I spoke with Morris the day before. Me and deceased General Austin went to him after I'd gone to the other fort, and people like Colonel James, who I reported to, said, you know what, we need to defuse this, let's go, let's talk. So since Morris knew both of us very well, both me and Ichi, and I had worked with him so very closely, I went and I spoke with him. And I said to him, you know, this thing could go, so, you know, it could go crazy. You need to really do this in the way that, and we need to go on Radio Grenada and tell the people. And then your guys above my pay grade, people like with Bernard Code, etc., your guys gonna walk out what the chisel is. But if we continue along that boat, at that road, this revolution is dead. That was my words to him. When I came back from Cuba, that's the same thing I said to everybody. If we continue along this road, the revolution is dead. So that was clear. So he told me straight up, you know, he's calling me Chicks. The Chicks, you know what? I understand what's going on, everything else and so forth. But I need to talk to Dicks, meaning Kendrick Ridings. So I said, okay, cool. He asked me for one drink. I told him no, I had a cola and so forth. I left him and Ichi there. And I went back. The next day when I came down, the situation had already started. I was at Butler House when that thing, when the Master Spring Morris and I went to the Market Square. When the person that told me that the Spring Morris, and I'm talking truth to power right here, is Peter David. We call him Pedro. Pedro came to Butler House. And I said, what happened, man? What's going on? And he said to me, well, the Master Spring Morris and they're going down in the Market Square. I turned to him And you could ask him that. I said, good man. Based on my conversation, the top people in the party and government gonna have a conversation, and this gonna be resolved. And I did not have a problem. But next thing I saw the people on the fort, and my first reaction is if they could breach the fort, they could breach the headquarters of the security, which is in Butler House. So I asked for one of them yellow Janet truck. We took that, and I took out most of all the cabinet. We didn't have no computers and them days. Style the cabinet with lock and thing, big iron lock, steel locks on them. So we took all of that. Now the only place to take that for it to be safe is the other fort, where HA and Code and everybody else was up there. So my concern first and foremost was the national security apparatus of the country. Right. So I went up there with that, took that there, put everything on the in a lock and key, and since that was where Colonel Lane headquarters is, that was the headquarters of the permanent battalion, I asked him and my direct commander Liam James where we could store it and we could have a guard to guard it outside the door. I was given a room, offload all the stuff, put a lock on it, came back. I had a binoculars around my neck. Also took it. Right next to me, standing outside of there, was H.A. Austin. And he said to me, Cleveland Donald, I don't know if you all guys remember Cleveland. Mike might probably remember Cleveland. Have doing a pig. And they roast it or whatever they do with it. And you want to go. I said, boy, I said, I am not feeling too well. I have the cold and I need to go back home. By which time when I got outside, the two BTRs were outside. I remember Bogman and a couple others, Connie Mears and etc. were around. But I didn't give it any thought as to what was happening. They had not left. But by the time I came out of the room, the BTRs had already left. The two of them had already left. I heard the gunshots and everything else. So let me get to the point of a process of elimination. General Austin could not have given the order. Okay. I was right next to him. There's no way he could have given the order. I was right next to him. He was right next to me. He could not have given the order. Colonel James couldn't give the order. Colonel James was the national security chief responsible for intelligence and counterintelligence. He could not command the permanent battalion. That command rested to Colonel Lane. So, by a process of elimination, if H.A. didn't give the order, couldn't. He stood right next to me. Right next to me, talking to me. Colonel James also couldn't have given the order because that's not his calling. That was not his command. The commander of the permanent battalion that defended that is supposed to defend St. George's is Colonel Lane. So let's do the process of elimination straight up.
As popular as the question as to where is Bishop Body is the question of who gave the order. And this has been asked in so many different ways, and we still haven't gotten a precise answer to it. And I think probably we'll continue to ask, and probably
one person could give the order, Junior.
Yeah?
Only one person that could give the order. The person that was made Prime Minister by the CCC. Only one person gave the order. Lane by himself couldn't give the order. Is the person, when the CCC gave the order for joint leadership, they made two prime ministers. Only one of those persons could have given the order. And Bishop can give the order to execute himself.
So you're saying it's cool.
One person that could give the order?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I told you I spoke to Code, I think was last I spoke to him was last year. And I'm still reaching out to him to have him come and have a chit chat with us. Hopefully he take me up on the offer. and we could have some closure. Just some questions. I mean, he can't incriminate himself. He already did his time. It's just for historical recollection, and hopefully you take me up on this, this chit chat on the program. Guys, it was a pleasure. Mason, thank you so much for chatting with us, helping us put some dots together. Of course, my historian friend Livingston Nelson, we appreciate you. Any closing words, Mr. Mason?
Yeah, thanks again for having me. And, you know, as far as the main issue is concerned, you know, I'm not the person to have any kind of answers to that question. And I just want to emphasize, and, you know, this is why I'm so drawn to the Grenadian people. I want to emphasize, once the American soldiers got there, once we got there, more than anything else, we wanted to help. We wanted to help the people. We wanted to help the medical students. Whatever we could do, you know, it's our nature to try to help people. And again, like the interacting with the prisoners or the detainees, you know, you got to understand that they're not criminals. The majority of them, they're soldiers. They were soldiers just like me. So they seriously, so they got to be treated a little bit different, with respect, dignity, and you know, our main mission was to take care of them. And you know, that's what we did. We had wounded prisoners and detainees, and we provided medical treatment for them. So, you know, again, I'm sorry with the whole what happened with all the politics, with all the countries involved. I mean, there's so many countries involved, but as an American, you know, our main goal was to come there and to help, to try and help. And because what happened on the 19th of October, I mean, that was a devastating, crazy thing. And you know, we wanted to come there and try and help you guys. That's the message I'd like to try to get across.
Yeah. Nelson, any last words?
Last words is that I had 3 brothers and sisters that were directly, well, my whole village from Tivoli. We were directly, you know, disenfranchised, affected by the revolution. But you know, when you put everything in perspective, that is actually a minor reason for any disenchantment. The revolution did a lot of good. But what really pained me is not the arrest, probably just of the 3,000 or so detainees, with a great number coming from my area. What really detained me is that this was such a beacon of hope for all the Black struggles across the world. I mean, we had such a potential. I mean, I would have lived so much better if the Americans came in without us destroying our own self. If the Americans had come in and they executed Maurice and they derailed the revolution, I think that was going to still be a victory for us. But when we did it to ourselves, it is extremely painful. And I mean, even the struggle in South Africa and the African continent, and all the Black struggles across the world were looking on Grenada, looking at Grenada as a beacon of hope. And we squandered that. We brought back the Black struggle for years. And instead of focusing on what was important, we get into the little petty fights, trying to push ourselves between America and the Soviet Union. But the spirit of the revolution still etched in the minds of a lot of persons that want to recapture that sense where you could have mass community groupings, etc. And you know, ways to reconstruct our country when we take our future in our own hands and decided that is what we want to do. These were the things that I miss. These are the things that were painful, that just for greed, we kill our own leader, the man that epitomizes, that embraces the spirit of the Grenadian Revolution. Bishop was no priest, but he was forced into a corner. Eventually, he reached to a point where he couldn't help himself, and people around him couldn't help him, because those that actually surround him were ready to cut his neck off. And that death of the revolution, or the spirit of the revolution, the death of the spirit of the revolution what hurt me the most, not the jailing of the 3,000 or so citizens. So I hope we could continue that. I wish we could at least take from it a page and see if we can resolve issues or national issues a better way because of our experience.
Yes.
Thank you, Junior, for having me once again. Thank you, Mr. Mason.
Yes, sir.
For coming on, and I think I learned that too from your perspective. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, you're welcome, Livingston. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. We'll keep in touch. Guys, this has been a very educational conversation. We learned a lot of new things here today, both from Mr. Christopher Nelson and Mr. Mason. And every year we get a little closer to get a little more information, just to get a little more. And hopefully, guys, sooner than later, we'll get more information so we could piece the historical recollection even tighter together. It's still piecey. There's still so many questions, unanswered questions. Let's take a quick commercial break, guys. I'll come back with the final words. And this one, guys, I want you to watch this. This is kind of long, but I want you guys to watch it. It's about an event that we have coming up. Take a look. We'll be right back. Hi, I'm Junior George, and I'm going to walk you through some of the very easy steps for playing our virtual bingo that will be done on this platform here on a bi-monthly basis. The reason for us doing this is to raise funds, much needed funds for all the activities that we have here on the Ride Along platform. So we urge everyone to participate, join the fun, join the excitement, and also get an opportunity to win some money. Yeah. Now here's the first step of how you can get started. Now first, we have built a unique and very easy to use payment platform. Now this platform is called RideBuy, and you can access it by going to ridebuy.com. That's RYDEBUY.com. Once there, select the game, select the number of tickets, and proceed to pay. It's that easy. It's a 1, 2, 3 step process, and then you're done. Now you bought your ticket, now what? It's very easy. Guys, moments after purchasing your ticket on our RideBuy platform, you will receive a link with your bingo cards. Click the link, your bingo ticket will show up, and you're ready to play. It's just that easy. Now on the day of the game, just head over to Ride Along Live, and you're ready to play. Just listen for the call. The bingo numbers will be randomly selected by our caller, and it will show up on your screen. You could use the virtual bingo card on your device or computer, or just print it out for easier access. It's your choice. Now, if you're the lucky one to hit a bingo, just type out bingo in the live chat. The game will stop and we'll be able to virtually check your bingo cards. Now, the game is fun and easy to play from any part of the world. If you have questions, please feel free to inbox us or call us at 718-701-5720. But you have to be in it to win it. So get your bingo ticket today. It's only $5. And what? $500 is waiting on you. Click the link and purchase now, and see you on the 28th for fun virtual bingo right here on Ride Along Live. Yeah, guys, so that's our Ride Along virtual bingo, and that's on Friday, right? When you guys to get your tickets, you can play from any part of the world. Get your tickets tonight. Go on to ridebuy.com. Let me put the link right there so you guys could check it out. RYDEBUY.com. Boom. Right. That's the link right here. Purchase your bingo tickets tonight. It's only $5, and you could win up to $500. There are 3 games, actually. First game, equivalent of $200. Second game, equivalent of $200. And the jackpot is $500. So in essence, you could win about $1,000. Yeah? Get your tickets tonight. Go to ridebuy.com. Purchase your ticket. In fact, triple your chances of victory, guys. Buy more than 1 ticket. Buy 4 tickets. Buy 5 tickets. Increase your chances of winning, all right? Go to ridebuy.com right now, guys, and purchase your ticket for bingo. It's on Friday. Starts at 6 p.m. Live DJ, live entertainment, real vibe on Friday. Get your ticket tonight. You got to be in it to win it. Got to be in it to win it. Right? Right, Akim? Is the Ride Along Virtual Bingo fundraiser. Get your tickets now. Again, guys, we are always here to give you all the best in entertainment and information, right? But we cannot do it without your support. This program is made possible because of you, supporters. There are people on the platform. You might see they have like a blue heart right next to their name. These people are supporters of the platform. Yeah, they're actually paid supporters of the platform. They fuel everything that we do here on this program. Yeah, every day we're here because of people who support, people who share, people who like. We're here because of you. That's how we're able to have the lights on and everything else here functioning because of your support. And we wanted to say thank you and continue to support us. And because of you and the things that you do for us, we're able to do more for the community. Like our 100 ham giveaway that we have every Christmas, we're doing it again this year. Our hampers, we're doing it again this year. That takes a lot of money, and we thank you guys for partnering with us to make a child Christmas brighter, to make a family Christmas better. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. On behalf of all our production team here, we have our senior producer, Lois JJ. Thank you so much. Kibbs, big up yourself. Gail, Charles, and Deanne Fraser. Thank you guys so much. Ciao. See you guys tomorrow, Ride Along Live, where everyone has a story to tell.
Williams Funeral Service serve you with dignity and compassion as you mourn. Every day, we embark on the journey of life, and one day, the journey will end. It's on that day that you can entrust the celebration of life of your loved ones to David Williams Funeral Service. Call 718-291-3823.
Grenadian products are now only a mouse click away at GrenadaMarket.com. Nutmeg and guava jams, jellies and syrups, world-famous nutmeg pain relief spray, black sage, soursop, lemongrass, and bois bande bar. Ordering is simple and friendly. All major credit cards accepted. Safe, secure shopping guaranteed. GrenadaMarket.com ships your product anywhere in the world. So when you can't go to the island, the products off the island can be sent to you. Just log on to www.grenadamarket.com and experience our quick delivery and homely service.
The moringa leaf is the highest concentration of vitamins of any plant on the planet. So if you're looking to get all the vitamins your body needs, get moringa. Moringa, 4 times more vitamin A than carrots, 3 times more potassium than bananas, 4 times more calcium than milk, 25 times the iron of spinach, 9 times the protein of yogurt, and 7 times the vitamin C of oranges. Stuff is amazing. It's a superfood. So go to Healing.